Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Neuroalchemy, where science meets soul and where healing becomes a multidimensional, intuitive, and embodied experience. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Young. Before we begin, a gentle note. Today's conversation includes concepts like astrology, numerology, and energetic awareness. Words that many of you have heard, but maybe don't fully understand yet. So we'll take everything slowly and we'll define our terms clearly and ground each idea in real life examples. Our guest today is Sunshine Monet L, an intuitive guide who uses symbolic systems like astrology, numerology, and energy-based frameworks to help people understand their emotional patterns, their inner strengths, and their unique expression. Her work blends creativity, intuition, and self-awareness in a way that helps people feel more aligned and connected to themselves. I'm so excited to begin. Sunshine, what was the moment or period in your life that opened this path of inner exploration? What was happening inside you at that time?
Um, Honestly, this has been like a lifelong journey for me. When I look at, the things that I do now as an adult, these are all like activities I engaged in as a child, but it was called like imaginary play. Um, so it's been a lifelong journey. I would say like walking into it in a more like intentional, like professional mindset with it. I was 19 and I was, going to school for psychology, and I was very interested in the concepts and things like that. And I had went to the Bahamas for my birthday, and I was born during hurricane season, but I wasn't thinking too much about it. And I ended up drowning in the ocean, and I kind of had like an outer body experience where I was like
Mm,
standing on the outside of myself, and I'm watching myself in the water, and there's like this like light entity next to me, and I felt comfortable with it, and I was just like, is this it? Like this is all I'm going to do? And the light kind of like looked at me like with like a it was an energy. I don't want to humanize it because it wasn't a human energy, but I felt like a shoulder shrug, like I don't know, I guess so. And then someone like pulled me out of the ocean, and it just like it was like a jolt. And it was like after that, I just started looking at things like so differently ever since then, and it made me want to add more spirituality to the sciences that I was learning.
that's really beautiful and profound. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners out there might relate to that. It sounds very similar to an NDE or a near-death experience. And
Hmm.
often those are portals for us as souls in our evolution. For listeners who are brand new, would you describe in everyday terms what some of those things that you use, like astrology, numerology, energy centers or chakras, or any other framework, just so that we lay the foundation as we go forward?
Okay, so the basic principle for it is everything comes from nothing, right? And the essential makeup of everything physical we see on the plane is like a condensed form of energy. Like the densest part of energy is what we experience here on the physical. So, everything that you see in the physical has an energy about it. Like if you see a star has an energy about it. We'll call that energy the electromagnetic field. If you're looking at the organs or the body systems on your body, those have energies. We will look at those as like the sephira or the netaru or chakras. You know, everything is physical, but it also has a non-physical exchange happening at the same time. So when you're able to add and be in awareness of that non-physical exchange that's also happening, it'll help you have a better grasp of what's happening physically. because physically it's not all the dimensions that's going on at in every moment.
Can you describe or define, maybe in some simplistic terms, numerology and astrology as well?
Yeah. So, um, the basic concept of numerology is numbers create everything. Everything is based upon numbers. Everything is built upon numbers, even the letters that we use, and the things that we call things. So, different cultures have different number bases that they use. Here, we base everything 1 through 10, and then you keep the cycle going. Actually, it's 1 through 9, and then you go to 10 through 19, and then 20 through 29, and so on and so forth. But all those numbers that we use have meanings, and they have an energy attached to them. So, numerology is basically learning about the energy that's attached to each number and all the different places that number goes, whether it's your address, your phone number, your name, um, the town you live in, your name versus the names that you want to give your children or your partner, whatever. All these have an energy attached to them that does become an energy that you get to experience. And that's what I talk about in my numerology readings in the realms of energy awareness. And then as far as astrology goes, same concept with the fact that like we'll look at a physical star. We know the elemental makeup of a star, it's the gas, it's the fire, it's the ice or water, it's the earth, it's the minerals, it's the elements, it's all these things. But all those things also have an electromagnetic energy attached to it too. I know in school we all learned about the atomic theory. Everything is just made up of atoms. But if you really look at an atom is mostly just space. Well, what's that space? That space is the energy that the different particles of that atom is giving off. And every physical being has that. They have that space. So I teach people with the jargon or the language of astrology, how to uh trying to think of words because it's all big words coming in my head. I'm trying to be able to realize like the energy, the spaces that they're walking into with their own personal space. um, as a child, once I learned about chemistry, I was very much into chemical equations. How the valence electrons of atoms interact with each other. Are they going to combust? Are they going to get along? Are they going to be, covalent? Are they going to be interdependent? Are they going to be parasitic? And if we look at our relationships with different people, places, things, situations, events, ideas, it kind of has those same kind of bonds as well. So, astrology is another way, as well as numbers. Astrology is another way to put those in names to the energy. Like I could say, oh, this energy in September, nature is like this. So the energies of different beings in this area are usually like this, and so on and so forth. And we might place the title Virgo with that or Libra with that, things of that nature. So it's really just like a language exchange between astrology, numerology, and even psychology. It's a language exchange, but it all explains the same thing. What is the energy? What does it feel like? What is it? What can you experience? What can you expect to experience? And there's an infinite amount of experiences you can expect. So that's also fun too. So it's the whole thing.
Very nice. Thank you so much for that beautiful explanation. For someone who doesn't naturally think symbolically, can you tell them what's the value in exploring these patterns, these meanings behind numbers and cycles and archetypes? It's so rich. Can you describe some of that for us?
So, taking that the symbology out of science. Science is the makeup of science pretty much explains everything that we have going on, right? So, the whole purpose really is, a lot of times like one of our very first questions as a child is why? You know, why are you upset? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why are you happy? Why are you giving me this? Why do I have to share this with you? Why are we doing this around this time of year? Why is everybody, acting like this that time of year? We always asking why. And learning about energy gives us a really good explanation as to why. Our physical selves and our physical experiences is a slower version to the why. Like thoughts. Thoughts move a whole lot faster than our physical body. Our thoughts are the energy though. And if you know what's making up your thoughts versus all the other thoughts in the room, you can kind of predict a little bit about what is physically about to happen. So it helps with, that awareness of, how some people can walk in a room and they can't read the room. Like, you
Mhm.
don't understand what's going on. You come in here with this loud energy and we're in the library,
Mm, mhm.
things like that. So this kind of, I know that was the lamest example, but this kind of helps that in more complicated spaces. It also helps with like grief counseling. A lot of time we wonder like why did this person think that was okay to do to me? Why, this, that, and the third. And that person can't give you proper closure because they might not know the why. Because, they're not fully aware of their energy. Or maybe they're not fully aware of your energy well enough to know that they did something wrong that you consider is wrong, but to them it was okay, you know? So it helps us with that. It also helps us with conflict resolution as well as conflict prevention. If I know that I have a lot of I use the jargon of astrology and elements. So if I know I have a lot of fire in my energy, if I go around somebody that has a whole bunch of air going on, it might trigger me a little bit. It might motivate me in a good way if I allow it to, but it can also, irritate me a bit. If I'm with someone that has a lot of water energy, I might irritate them, So I try to explain those different things to help people with those whys. Like, why is my physical reality the way it is? Well, let's go to the non physical part that moves a whole lot faster. Your physical part is just catching up to the non physical. So, if we get to the non physical first, we can kind of um, alchemize or manipulate, for another word, what kind of physical reality we can have.
I love that. Yeah, we truly are, each one of us, a universe unto ourselves, right? And the
Right.
way that each one of us interacts with each other one of us, the it's mind-blowing when you think of the amount of combinations of different people's energies and their patterns and their history and their relationships. It really does make life quite exciting. Sunshine, can you tell me how symbolic systems can help people to understand their own emotional landscape, their own nervous system patterns?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to nervous system patterns, so this is what I like to specialize in is placing your planets into your chakras. So when
Mm,
we get into your nervous system, now we're getting more specifically speaking into like your Neptune and your Pisces and a lot of your water placements like your Cancer, your Moon, Scorpio, your Pluto, and these waters affect your flow of your nervous system, how you think things, and how strenuous certain experiences can be on your flow. So, when I explain those things to people, like, I'll say how, personally, how it gives me assurance, especially as a parent. I have two children, and it's just learning how my energy is, learning about myself. I know how I am. I'm very rambunctious. I like to be active, probably a little too active. Sometimes I need to learn how to relax. I know these things about me, but my sons, they have energy about them that's way more lax. And
mm,
instead of me projecting who I am onto my children, like, well, I do this and I do that and da da da, so you should do it too. I recognize you guys for who you are and how sometimes I can be conflicting with my energy on certain days, but like, let's work on how we can complement one another. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
Let's see how, my energy of how, I move and think and go about problem solving and how I go about my day and my organization and stuff. Let's see how I can complement you guys' energy. And let's see how, because their energy does complement mine too. Like sometimes it's like, hey mom, relax. Hey mom, I got it. You know, you can come down a little bit. So it's, it's a give and take. But if you don't have that level of awareness to yourself, I've noticed people have a habit of projecting themselves on everybody around them. You guys don't love how I love. You guys don't care how I care. You guys don't behave how I behave. You guys don't think or believe how I believe. So there has to be something wrong with you, and that's where the conflict gets in. So it's just like I like to teach it in a way of, if you become more aware of yourself and how infinite you are, especially in
Mm.
different spaces, you can learn to have this level of awareness, appreciation, and respect for the fact that someone has the same amount of energies too that are different from yours. So, and that helps with the interactions, definitely.
Yes, I can absolutely agree that, awareness is our first step. And once we have that awareness, we can truly honor one another in our individual selves and experiences. And in a lot of ways, cooperate, right? We have to have that awareness and be able to honor each other in order to cooperate with what is. So you said that so beautifully. Thank you so much. Can you give us a real life example? You don't have to identify any details specifically if you're not comfortable, but of how maybe someone has gained clarity or regulation through the work that you do.
Yes. I've helped people with like people that want to create organizations or team building. I know that off-grid living is is a movement now. People are looking to move off-grid. They want to build those independent communities. And they'll have, these prospects, like these are people that are interested in this. And so I would get to know the person that's trying to put it together. Like, let's help you get in tune with your energy, because you have this generalized idea of what you want to do. But if you have more awareness of your energy, you can get more specified in your niche and what it is that you're trying to do, because not all independent communities are the same or have the same focus. Yes, they all have the same root chakra. Of course, we need shelter, we need food, water, medicine. We love animals, we want to go to plants. That's the root chakra of it all. But you still have all these other chakras on top. You have your sense of belonging. What kind of energy do what brings you joy? What brings you pleasure? What you want to focus on here? You have your solar plexus chakra of self-control and ambition and, conflict resolution and so on and so forth. So, of course, when we did build our independent communities, we're mostly focused on that root chakra. But I help, this individual get in tune with their other chakras as well. Like, it's bigger than that. And so while doing that with them, I'm showing them how to be aware of the people that are interested in their chakras and how they might interact. Now, everyone has to have a job, right? Everybody has to have something they're good at. Not everybody knows what they're good at. Or some people don't realize that the thing that they walk around with that they think is their strength isn't really their strongest one.
Mm.
It's just, this is what I like to do. So in my mind, this is my strength. But when I think about it, it's not the strongest thing that I do. Like me, I do a lot of things. I love to make jewelry. But that's not the strongest thing that I can do. There's things that I'm like just way more naturally better at, and I'm just as passionate about. So, helping this person, bring on these prospects and now having awareness of the compatibility between the chakras, of what energies are in my chakras, what energies are in yours, what are the different ways that these can align with. And also, when I'm doing readings for people, I'm constantly asking them, does it resonate? Does it resonate? Because I want to make sure that, I'm reading you correctly. And because, like I said, you could read someone's placement in an infinite amount of ways, So it's, I'm getting reassurance that, okay, that does make sense. That is me. Da, da, da. So now I'm telling you guys how you guys could possibly interact with one another, the different conflicts that may occur, the different things that even though this person is interested in this, they can be stronger in that. And so keep an open mind about, bringing this to the table when you come to a community, as well as what it is that you actually love to do. things of that nature. And so I was able to help someone, create an independent community. I was also able to help other people create a board for their nonprofit, making sure they had people that were compatible and everybody's in alignment with the mission statement overall. And those are really great experiences, honestly.
So, what I heard you say is that you really help people to get in tune with themselves, to get in tune with others. You create a space where you can honor their strengths and their weaknesses. You help them unlock each person's potential, and alignment is really big for you. That was just my perspective on some of those things that I heard you say. You've talked about how intuition guides transformation. How do you see intuition connecting to nervous system safety, clarity, or coherence?
Yes, intuition is a big one on safety. We have that fight or flight mode. And then when you get into like the spiritual aspect of that, because fight or flight, we know we associate that with psychology, right? When you get into the spiritual aspect of it, that's the solar plexus chakra, the gut that controls the mind. We get into the scientific aspect of it. We know when my gut is hungry, it'll tell my mind it's time to eat. And now I have to do the things. We know the gut is Aries, that's the fire. And when I go to do the things, I am, behaving in Scorpio. I have to manipulate, create transformations. I'm making a burger or I'm paying someone to make me a burger or, that so I can put the Scorpio water to my Aries fire that's telling me what to do. Um, Also, like, if I'm in a dangerous situation, your Mars or your Aries placement will let you know, um, you know, these are different situations that seem dangerous. Like, I can't swim. So if I get to the deep end of the pool, I don't want to be there versus somebody else that gets to the deep end of the pool and they're having a great time because they feel safer there in their solar plexus chakra. So, that's, how you could say like the differences between people's, solar plexus. Some people, they box or they wrestle or they kickbox for a living. So when they're in certain situations, they're not in flight mode. They're in fight mode. I'm flighting. Okay. So you have different situations like that. And so it's just learning how to follow your gut, knowing when your gut is speaking to you from certain standpoints of, am I being balanced here when my gut is speaking to me, or am I being imbalanced here? Um and you learn that when you get into, astrology and the chakras more in detail. Just in a general sense, it's just learning how to allow your gut to be in alignment, be the message to your mind to let you know what to do next.
Yeah, so signals can be doorways, signals can be tools. And I love how you really guide people to kind of get the static out and really see what those signals are so that they can better, align with what they're going for, what their life is. That's really nice. What are the biggest misconceptions you think people have about astrology or numerology or energy work?
I would say one of the biggest ones, I know that it conflicts with people's religious walks, and that's never my intentions. So, I'll communicate with them more so in the psychology or chemistry, jargon with that, as far as, these concepts are the same. It's just the language that's being used. And so if the scientific language works better for you than me talking about astrology and numerology, so be it. But the message will be the same, I promise you. And also the idea that all these things are outside of self. And yes, and we are experiencing ourselves right now. We are experiencing ourselves. Even when we look up to the sky, we're still experiencing ourselves. Yes, but in the same breath, all of these things, like how I teach it, it's within yourself. It's not necessarily like this big energy in the sky you have to pray for and create altars and sacrifices for. These are all energies you have within. And a lot of the mythology that we learn about are like personified fables to show us hey, this is how your energies interact with each other inside. When you're overbalanced here and imbalanced there, or you're balanced in both areas, they fall in love. If you're imbalanced, they go to war. Sometimes there might be a Trojan horse in one area and it gets to the other one. So, a lot of those stories are explanations of what's going on inside of self, especially when you feel that conflict between, what I want and what I need, or what I really want to do versus what I feel like other people would like for me to do, you know? So those are like the two main ones that I come across is people's religion and the mindset that it's outside of self. So because of the mindset that is outside of self, it's like this is pseudoscience, it's not real, or things like that. And it's like, well, we don't have to have the astrology conversation. Let's talk about psychology then.
I love that. I love how you use different languages that describe essentially, the same meaning. And it's so important to change the vocabulary depending on who we're talking to because none of us really have the exact same makeup, the same life experience, the same cultural knowledge. But there's something to be said for the alchemy of those inner and outer worlds. And keeping an open mind is definitely something that is a benefit to us because when we have an open mind, it's like an open door, right? And when we have that open door, we can allow more things in. But if we're kind of pigeonholed in the way that we think about things or we're just stuck in it has to be this way, the learning can't happen, right? There's a
Right.
closeness there. Um so that's so important. Where do you see symbolic or intuitive work aligning with what we know from trauma science, neuroplasticity, or emotional regulation?
Oh, those are that's a good question. Um well, we get into the power of the mindset and how I see it a lot in the science articles about how, scientists are just now realizing that which is very interesting because the placebo effect experiment was done a long, long time ago.
Mhm.
But we're just now coming into this, scientific phenomenon that your mind has a power. And if you think in a certain kind of way for an extensive period of time, the number they usually get is 21, which is very interesting because that brings you to a sense of understanding, 2, 1, and 3. Um, that you can make something to be so. You can get yourself in a certain you can mold your mind frame, you can mold your neurons. You have something called neuron pruning, where if you go without utilizing certain neurons for a period of time, those memory maps, they don't necessarily die because you can reignite them at any time. Sometimes people smell something decades later and it'll bring that whole memory map back, but you can make it dormant. So different psychological exercises they have is like when you have phobias, I'm going to make you face the phobia until your memory map no longer correlates that event. Or let's say you're afraid of dogs and I keep showing you a dog. And so your memory map no longer correlates a dog with danger or something to be afraid of because I've showed you these cute little puppies and these great experiences that are now being built into your memory map in association with the dog. You can intentionally do that with your mind by just sitting there. I believe one of the words that they use for it in the wellness community is Reiki. When you're just like sitting there and you're, mentally focusing on, I want this part of self to heal. I want to, heal this experience that I've had. I don't want this memory map connected here. Abraham Hicks, I love her hands down. She talks heavily on the power of the mindset and how if you think things a certain way and behave like it's already happening, which is also like a key component in the secret, you open up your vortex. This is why energy awareness is important. You open up your vortex for it to come to you. And so I've done it. I vouch for it wholeheartedly. It is definitely a real thing, and it definitely does help with your neurons and the plasticity, of my neuron, my memory maps going here versus there.
It's so empowering that mindset creates reality because, energy follows thought, and there's always a new opportunity for a new experience. We always have a choice. So
Hmm.
I find it to be really empowering that even if I've had a lot of bad memories and I'm kind of stuck in my bad memories, I don't have to stay stuck in my bad memories. I can create new memories, right? I
Right.
can kind of override those. And so there's always power. There's always a lot more power within us than we really actually think of. Has there been a moment in your own life where one of these tools really helped you see yourself differently or really helped you shift your path?
Oh, absolutely. So many experiences. I have crazy stories upon crazy stories. But one of the most recent ones was I was physically healing from an accident. I was physically hit by a vehicle, and I'm accustomed to be like this, moving around. I always have to move. I hope, and I couldn't do those things for myself. And
Mm.
I always tell people, if I sit still too long, I start to feel bad about myself. I start to feel like I'm doing something wrong. And now I'm in this position, I'm in this wheelchair, I'm stuck in this bed, and I have no choice. But it didn't stop those thoughts from coming that I was doing something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I'm being lazy. I'm not good enough. It was bringing me down. It was bringing me down. And I had to learn how to change that memory map of me resting, of me focusing on my healing and things like that. It's nothing wrong with that. And every day I'm sitting there, I have no choice but to sit here. So while I'm sitting here, why don't we have these mental conversations? Okay, you say that this is wrong. What's wrong about it? I have to sit here, I have to heal, I have to rest. Sometimes you have to have that mental conversation with yourself where you're questioning yourself. You have to, be your own psychologist for a moment so you can get all the way down to the root of, get back down to the root chakra of all those thoughts. Every thought you have has a root chakra. And get down to the root of these thoughts. Like, where are they coming from? Well, they were stemming from abuse. I was abused when I was a child, and in my mind, my superpower was the fact that I stayed busy. If I stayed busy, this person won't hit me. They won't say anything bad to me. If I stay busy and I do really good in school, I'm always in the after school programs. I'm always getting these awards and stuff, so I'm never home to be in trouble. So like getting to the root chakra of those things, it's like, okay, well, girl, you're in your 30s now. You're not in that house anymore. This person isn't in your life anymore.
Mhm.
This happened. We're not there anymore. We're here. So we have to learn how to, like, if, cut that memory map, cut that neuron of rest off from those experiences, because those experiences aren't here anymore. It doesn't make sense to keep that. And attach this to something else. You're resting to get better. You're resting to do better. You're resting because next year we want to go on tour. We want to get back to exercising again. We want to do these things. So now, from all that, exercising. And like I said, every now and then, it'll be a song, it'll be a smell, it'll be like somebody, in my phone asking me about something. It might bring it back, but it's not as connected as it used to be, to where like all of these things are coming back up again. You know what I mean? So that's like my personal experience with doing that for myself.
I agree. In my own path, I have found it very important to question those inner thoughts. Where are those coming from? And to, take the opportunity to reframe them whenever I can without judgment, right? Because we're
Hmm.
kind of conditioned to be our own worst critic. And there's always an opportunity to we can play the roles. We can play all the roles inside of ourselves of all the relationships that ever were. And it's empowering because in that there's a chance for clearing. For someone listening who's curious but maybe overwhelmed, what's one simple, gentle first step they can take?
A gentle first step you could take is, when you wake up, instead of grabbing your phone, hurry up. First thing we do when we usually wake up is we hurry up and plug our energy into other things, right? make a habit of at least the first 5 to 10 minutes. If you could do longer, praises be, the longer the better. But at least for the first 5 to 10 minutes, just keep your energy to yourself. When you first open your eyes, take a breath, be present, feel your body, feel your mind, feel your breath, feel your thoughts, everything that you feel without the picking up the phone, without whatever sound the alarm is making, all these different things going on. Just utilize that moment there to be in yourself and carry that energy throughout your day. If you can carry your energy throughout that day, it'll help you have a sense of awareness. Like when I first woke up, I was feeling this, this, and this. Now I'm having this energy exchange with this person, or now I'm in this new building, or now I'm in the middle of a transition, and I feel this happening to my energy. I feel this happening to my body. I feel this happening to my breath. You'll start to notice those little things. You don't need the astrology jargon. You don't need the numerology jargon. You don't need the psychology. You don't need any of that to be in tune with yourself. So don't get so overwhelmed with the science, the ologies of the things. It's really about just knowing you, honestly.
I love that. And I think for our listeners, I think I'm going to piggyback off of Sunshine and give you a little bit of a challenge for this week. I want you to experiment with exactly what she's talking about. When you wake up for the next week, she's asking you, be in your own field. Some of us were so used to, exactly like you said, plugging into everything else that's not me. And
Mhm.
so the challenge for this week will be to be in your own field and to really experience that on deeper levels. Thank you so much for giving us a doorway to offer that to people. How does someone know when it's time to work with a guide rather than trying to figure it out on their own?
Um, when you find yourself getting frustrated with yourself, I would say that for me. When I find myself getting frustrated with myself and I feel like I'm in a circle, I have, other wellness coaches and my other spiritual beings that I reach out to like, hey, I'm in a spiral right now. Uh Help me out. you know. There's somebody you trust. Yeah, if you find yourself getting frustrated with yourself, like those conversations you have in your head, if you're going in a spiral and you feel like you're putting yourself downward even more, and that's not where you want to be, ask someone to pull you up. The same way it was when I was drowning. I couldn't pull myself up. I was on the outside of myself looking. I needed someone to pull me out of that water. Sometimes you need somebody to pull you out.
Yeah, my spiritual teacher has often said, would you hire a clerk to fix your electricity? It's like, no. No, we wouldn't. We would want a skilled electrician that knows the ins and outs of the wires and how they work and all the
Hmm.
things, right? And I think what you're saying really speaks to that. It's very much the same. Sometimes within our own labyrinths, we can't see the forest for the trees, and there's guiding lights all around, and there's always an opportunity to step up into our own light. Sunshine, what's one truth or principle that someone could carry into their day after listening to this conversation today?
Um, I'll tell you the first thing that popped in my head when you said that. Let love be your religion.
Hmm,
Love is the strongest power we have. Put that first.
that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Sunshine,
you.
thank you so much for helping us slow down, explore our inner landscape, and understand symbolic healing in such a grounded and accessible way. For everyone listening, um, we'll include links to where to find Sunshine in our show notes. This is Neuroalchemy, and I'm Dr. Sarah Young. And until next time, may you honor your intuition, listen to your body, and take gentle steps into that next season of healing.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.